Hello and welcome to Breakfast Club, where we meet up just ahead of the game week deadline to discuss our teams and also look on in shock at the midday lineups. Today I'm joined by Mark and David. Firstly, Mark, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, hopefully not in shock. I don't want to be surprised about Liverpool Spurs lineups. Really, I do fear Alexander-Arnold might turn up, but might not turn up. But I don't reckon. I think it'll be all right. So I don't think we've got a shock in store.
No,
Let's hope not.
Hopefully not. I just say that to gather interest. And the past few weeks we've done it. It's really boring. They go, right, who's starting? Absolutely everyone you expect. David, welcome. So how are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Yeah, it's a Saturday morning, so panic stations for my team in my head, as it always is on Saturday morning, but I'm making sure I don't do anything in the next 12 minutes.
Okay, so you're busy. What we'll do is we'll come to your team and have a look at my team a bit later. But first, let's wade into Mark's team and have a look at it. So we've got it up on screen here. You've made some changes. You had a wild card. And it didn't quite go as planned, and you've made some changes. So, take us through what happened with the wild card and what have you done?
If you remember, it's not been disastrous a while, but if you remember, I effectively did a video with you, Joe, and I had my Hazard build, and I had Hazard and Mitrovic in there, and I had double Liverpool defence, and I scrapped that after the video. I kind of sat down after the video and thought, maybe it is a bit template. And maybe I need that Arsenal cover because it came up in the video and I didn't have that apart from the ill-fated Dozy. He was still playing, but obviously not doing anything. He wasn't designed to, I guess, in my team. But even so, I thought I needed Arsenal cover. So I went heavy on Arsenal, Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang. I wasn't the only one, but I thought, I can't really go template. If I'm going to play wildcard, I've got to get on this Arsenal bandwagon, anticipating that they'd deliver points, and it didn't work out, did it? Mkhitaryan didn't turn up for the second game, and although Aubameyang got his first goal of the season and 8 points, it hasn't really been enough when you compare what Mitrovic did to me and Hazard has done as well since. So it was an error, simple as that. So now I've got to go and set about admitting that error first of all and then putting it straight. So Hazard and Mitrovic should come in, which, it's not the best game week to bring Mitrovic in by any means away at City, but I just think I needed to get him in before he continues to rise. Hazard, in contrast, I think he's a key player for this game week. I think that I'm going straight to him with the armband. I think I need to make some decisions like that to make up some ground. I know Aguero's going to score, I'm sure, against Fulham, but I'm just hoping Chelsea inflict bigger damage and that Hazard's part of that. And I think he will be. So that's it, really. I'm trying to move back towards that original wildcard team that I built, admitting my error and slowly moving back towards that. So I've got a few more moves in mind for the next couple of games. So, hopefully this team will do all right.
Going back to that original wildcard is a great idea. Made a mistake, quickly, move swiftly. I mean, that's great advice for anyone. Hopefully people get advice from this as well. But just a couple of things just to look at there. One is I noticed that you made your moves quite early on in the game week. I think it was it was the weekend where the games were still going on, really, that you'd made that move. And you'd taken a hit over that. Now, that's quite a risky, nerve-wracking thing to do because Hazard was playing 2 friendlies and, of course, Mitrovic was as well. And you've got other players as well. So what was it that made you take that quite risky? Because that a lot of the advice is don't do that in the international break. Wait.
Yeah, it is risky. I mean, I like to keep the money in the bank, and I just felt that the matches that even though they had 2 games each, and they did play in both games. I just felt that that I was willing to take that risk. That I'm going to come through that. Hazard gets kicked every game, and he gets kicked to pieces in every single game. He'll get beaten up by Cardiff, I don't doubt. So he's durable. He has had injuries on international breaks before. Remember one last season or season before last, which was ill-fated, but I back him to get through matches without getting knocks, and I kind of was confident of him. And of course, he was going to go up in price, and he has. And the same for Mitrovic; he's a tank, isn't he? So I kind of felt that I didn't expect him to play both games. To be honest, I thought that he might just play one. Same for Hazard, maybe, but they turned out in both. But they've come through it. Mitrovic, like Hazard, he's durable. He looks fitter than ever, Mitrovic. I mean, I remember I saw a bit of him for Newcastle when he came into the Premier League first time round, but now he really looks the part. And he scored for Serbia again, as did Hazard for Belgium. So both of them did well over that break and came through it unscathed. So the gamble paid off. But you're right. Normally, perhaps don't take that risk. But I'm a maverick with that kind of thing with the price.
Well, is it because you're just outside the top million? So is that dry? So if you were say top 100,000, you may not have taken that risk. Is that?
Yeah, probably not. If there were points in the bank, every 0.1 will help me. I've got some moves that I want to do. I'm kind of thinking of going forward at the back long term because I kind of think that's where the value. And I want to get that double Liverpool defence. So I'm eyeing up Gomez. So if I want to get Gomez and Alexander-Arnold at the back, that would be a couple of Liverpool defenders of just over 10 million, which would be good. And it will give me that advantage over those who have got Mane and Salah, which is a lot of people, of course. Whether it be an advantage, I don't know, but it gives me a differential. So I'm looking at that. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to need every 0.1, I think, because Gomez is going up in price or will keep going up in price. And, likes of Walcott was going down. So I just felt that I needed to make that move and I was willing to take the risk.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and the second part of that is the other risk that you're taking there with Hazard captain. Now, it sounds odd to say Hazard at home to Cardiff is a risk, but the risk there is that you will know in your mini leagues that everyone will be captaining Aguero. There may be the odd one on Salah, the odd one on Hazard. But pretty much they're going to be going Aguero. So it's not that you're betting on Hazard, you're betting against Aguero. And I remember last season you kept doing this, didn't you? Because you said, I'm going to bet against Salah scoring and then go for Kane. So Kane was your kind of default differential captain and it didn't go to plan. So what makes you think this time around you're going to get one over on the Aguero captainers?
Well, I don't necessarily. I just think I've got to make that kind of move. And I think, Hazard's ownership is 22%. Aguero's much more. I think he's over 50. I've obviously got Aguero, so I cover half his points. And those who don't have Hazard don't have that cover. I think that they'll both come in. I do think that Hazard at the moment has proved this season so far he's been in the points in every match. He hasn't even started some of those games. Whereas Aguero has blanked, of course. So I think City and Chelsea will both win by quite a margin. Obviously, in that City team, there's other players that can score. So I'm just having to hope that Aguero doesn't chip in with all the goals. Of course, he punished me last time. Could happen. I mean, Hazard's got his pros over Aguero, of course, namely the bonus. He only has to turn up and make a few nice passes and he gets a bonus point, Hazard. So I'd like to think that if Hazard chips in with an assist, then it's going to come with bonus points as well. Whereas obviously Aguero, if he's going to get bonus, normally has to score. So I think, there's pros and cons, both on penalties. Both teams should win. I just think that Cardiff are more likely to capitulate than Fulham. I just think that Cardiff, there is that quality gap. I think Fulham have got some good players and might be able to keep the score down. Whereas Cardiff, if Chelsea strike early and find a route through, I don't see them dealing with Hazard's quick feet either. I think Cardiff are a big side, a combative side who will clatter him every opportunity. But I think Chelsea have got some in Pedro, Willian, Hazard. I think Giroud will start up front and hold it all together. So I just think Chelsea are going to do some heavy damage. So that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Oh, also looking at it, I see you've got Walcott here now on the Scoutcast earlier this week. We had a little
your favourite.
We had a bit of fun with Andy because he was the only one who fell into what I called the Walcott trap, and he did it again. He was a massive troll. How disappointed were you in him, and what made you keep him as well? Because he may not start. He may get a bench role, and yeah, I mean, because you've always been quite keen on Walcott, and I've always distrusted him. So, yeah, any advice for Walcott owners?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate the injury. It's a rib injury and it contact, so it wasn't like a muscular like he normally gets, and he's had loads of those, of course. But I mean, I think that West Ham at home, if he plays, that's a good fixture. I looked at him and Mkhitaryan, it was one of them to go. Mkhitaryan's not certain to start. I'd much rather have a player that's got a chance of starting. I think it's difficult to see Mkhitaryan getting in that Arsenal team at the moment. If he's going to play Lacazette and Aubameyang, which he surely has to, then it's either Mkhitaryan or Ozil at the moment. So I think that vote's going to go to Ozil again. But we'll see. I mean, so, while Walcott might not have been fit, I think he's going to be, though. I think he is going to play because with Richarlison out, they're going to need Walcott, I think. So I think he will start that game. So I think I've got away with that. And yeah, he disappointed last time out, but who knows what will happen at home to West Ham. I think that's a decent fixture. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
What's the long-term vision with him? You going to quick, easy back to Richarlison?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that was always the plan, because Richarlison's a player, I think we all acknowledge that he started the season well, and there's no reason to suspect he won't carry on like that, although he didn't for Watford. I think Everton got a bit more about them. So I think that, he did well over the break, of course, as well, didn't he? So he's continuing that form. So Walcott was going to go. I mean, they've got Arsenal, haven't they, the next fixture when Richarlison's back. So it's weighing up whether I want to get Richarlison straight back for that game or whether I want to make the Sessegnon move and get some cash in that midfield there. So I got a feeling Sessegnon might start at City though, because I think he's more defensive on that side, and I don't know whether Shaw will start, although that's his former club. I've got a feeling Sessegnon might get the nod. So I'm still uncertain whether. I do think Session's going to get back in that Fulham team. It's just a matter of when.
That brings me on to your bench because we're going into the Champions League season. It's a bit light, isn't it? So you've got like a non-playing sub goalie, Sessegnon, who's as has been revealed is kind of not among the top 3 or 4 Fulham options. Wan-Bissaka's a good one, and then Guendouzi, he's likely to be the 2-point man. So I mean, you weren't tempted to do any upgrades there, considering there could be some surprise benchings this week?
Yeah, I am. I mean, long term, that's got to be deployed to kind of get a bit more definite starters in that. I mean, Session's a worry to me, of course, and Walcott will go. So, I mean, the Fabry to Rui Patricio is the move I'm looking at possibly next. I'm really like Wolves. I think we've struck lucky there I've struck lucky with Bennett. I think that he looks a good 4 million proposition along with Wan-Bissaka. So that's kind of settled there, unless I want to upgrade my defence a bit more, which I'm thinking of as well. But Fabry's going to go to Rui Patricio in one move, and then Sessegnon and Walcott are going to go as well. But it's a matter of when. It's a question of timing on those 3. I've got to see what Walcott does. Obviously, if he plays against West Ham, I've got to see if Sessegnon starts at City and whether there's a hint he's going to get back in the team. So those 3 are the priorities to change, but I just don't know what the order yet. We'll have to see. I need more data.
I mean, there's plenty. I mean, there's absolutely bags of these kind of 6.5 midfielders around. There's just no like good kind of 8 midfielders. There's David Silva 8.5, and then Pogba maybe if you relying on penalties a bit there. But then it goes further. What we really need is a really good... Remember that season where Joe Allen just suddenly exploded in Joe Allenness, and he was every game was scoring. It was just incredible. And we've had players like that before. I remember Sterling back when he was 4.5, just appeared in the team and just kept doing it. I mean, we really need that. I mean, I thought Ryan Fraser was going to be that man. I really like his price and his role in the team. But yeah, he's an injury doubt now. I mean, are there any other players around that? I mean, I'm asking partly personal reason, because I'm looking to wildcard soon and dying for one of these cheap, good midfielders. But I think other people are as well, and possibly if they're going to have enough of Fraser. So yeah, any others tempted in that kind of sub 6 million midfield category? Yeah,
I'm looking at Damari Gray. I think he's going to be the one. For me though, it's just uncertain whether he's going to keep his place in the team, but I think he will. If I'm not going to get Maddison, then Gray looks to be a very good option to downgrade from that as a kind of 4th, 5th midfielder. I'm looking at going 4-3-3 possibly, which would mean that my 4th midfielder might just be on rotation with my one of my defenders. So Gray looks a good option because of the fixtures. So Maddison is a temptation, of course. I think a lot of people are going to look at him, but he's more expensive and he's going up. Whereas Gray, I think there's uncertainty on his start, but I think he's quite important today. I mean, his pace is key, and he's looking like, he's one of those players like Richarlison. He just really needs to improve his finishing, needs to improve his end product. But I think he's on that trajectory now, and he's shown some form already. So I'm looking at him.
Yeah, I think, he strikes me as he's kind of sort of all Brighton level, isn't he? He's like he could haul, he could chip away with some points. I can't necessarily afford it, but I look at Leicester and I really like the look of Leicester. We discussed it on the Scoutcast. Leicester just got a great set of fixtures coming up, and Jamie Vardy's the one I would love to get in, because he's going to play. He's on penalties. It's just that 8.9. It's hard to squeeze him in. I mean, he looks good for your team though, in terms of someone who's like sub 1 million needs a reliable point scorer that no one owns. It's only 3% ownership.
He did, but I just think I love Mitrovic and Wilson this season. I think they look the part, and as long as they stay fit, then I think I'm going to stick with them for a while. Team sheets are in, and Alexander plays, so I'm all right there.
Yeah, so David, before we go back to Mark, finish up, look at his team. David, the team sheets are in.
That's right.
Do you want to go through them?
No surprises.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Then bore us to tears with the lineups.
Yeah. So Spurs is a Vorm goal, which again is not a surprise because Lloris is out. Then it's back 4, Rose, Vertonghen, Alderweireld and Trippier. Then we've got Dyer, Dembele, Winks, Eriksen, Lucas in midfield. I'm guessing that's a 2-3-1 with obviously Kane up front. Okay. And then Liverpool, only one change. And the great thing is that all of the guys we expect to play in attack are there as well. So Alisson in goal. Alexander-Arnold played. Obviously, good news for Mark. Gomez, Van Dijk, and Robertson. So no rotation at fullback, which is nice to see. Then Wijnaldum, Keita's come in for Henderson and Milner, and then the Holy Trinity of Salah, Firmino, and Mane. So no rotation in the attacking players in the Champions League.
Because we thought there may have been Firmino because he was getting minutes in internationals. But I think you mentioned that Salah was back as well, but he'd been back early to training, so we kind of expected him to play.
Rose playing ahead of Davies is interesting. Does that mean Davies is the Champions League left back? I mean, that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess when still no surprises really. Like rotation at fullback for Spurs is I guess pretty usual, isn't it? So
the headline for me, I would take from that is Trippier, definitely, because people who are getting him in. I mean, if I thought he was nailed on, I would have him in my team like a shot. I would be going 4 at the back every week. But it's just that fear of being rested. So this is great news because this looks like possibly a rest for the Champions League. He loves rotating them, and then back again for the next match, which is and then Spurs have a quite a good run as well. Well done, Trippier owners. I'm jealous. So Mark, just wrapping up the rest of your team there. You mentioned Wolves as well. I'm really pleased to see Bennett there. I have had the last 2 breakfast clubs. I've been saying, hey, it doesn't matter if I have a player rested because I've got Bolly on my bench to come in. And both weeks he's failed to come on because people like Mkhitaryan were playing for like a minute. So when we come to look at my team, I'm going to play Bolly this week. And one of the reasons is because I saw people like you and a lot of other top managers. They've all got Wolves defenders, and I actually think that I might miss out without one. So I mean, how important do you think they are? And what about that kind of decision of doing that, like looking what other people are doing, kind of playing the game rather than the player?
Yeah, I think Wolves already have shown. I mean, look at the stats; they're going to be solid at the back. They don't take too many risks. They've got a very organised way of playing. They keep the ball, and I think in the home matches, I mean, they got Burnley this weekend. I think that looks a good fixture. For me, the only issue is that there's so many good options in defence. I'm going to keep Wan-Bissaka. Like you mentioned, Trippier, and I'm looking at Gomez as well. So it's like whether I hold on to Bennett because basically there's other options defence to go for. Alonso, Mendy, and a Liverpool defender pick themselves, and then but beyond that, there's Trippier, maybe a double up on Liverpool if you don't have Mane. So I don't know if I hold on to Bennett because I might look at better options, and also Bennett might eventually lose his place at Dendoncker. I expect that to be the case. So I'm looking at Rui Patricio in goal in a rotation because I do think covering Wolves is the way to go because I think they're going to keep a decent amount of clean sheets and Rui Patricio in particular that's a good keeper as well. When the ball does get through to him, he's got save points in him. So I do think that some Wolves cover is good. Bennett is great for now, but I think he might lose his place eventually. And if I had Bolly, I'd hold him for now. But like I say, you've mentioned Trippier, you've got to be tempted to even upgrade because of the options that are there.
Yeah, I am. Well, it's an option on a wild card. So now, David, let's have a look at your team then. I'm going to say not quite as exciting as Mark's, as in you haven't just wild carded and you haven't just committed some early surgery to rectify anything. Any changes?
I've made no changes.
Hey.
In the end. Like I said,
Unbelievable.
like I said on the Scoutcast, there's a few things I'd like to change, but it wasn't enough to wild card. And I'd kind of like the idea of having 2 free transfers for next week. So we've talked about Mkhitaryan and Bernardo Silva. I think, I don't know, I'm taking a risk that they could start. I've basically put them in midfield and I've benched Wan-Bissaka instead. I just feel like Mkhitaryan, I just got this feeling I can't quantify that he'll start. I mean, we've had all these sort of these rumours going on about Ozil, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like Mkhitaryan could come back in, and then with Bernardo Silva, we generally say with a Man City asset, if they haven't played the last game, then you'd like to think they're probably going to play this one. And he has started both games. He started. He didn't start the last home game. He started the one prior to that. He's on set pieces when he does play. So bearing in mind that this could be, a big win for Man City, I felt like moving him on just this week wasn't a great idea. Whereas not moving out of either of those 2 players out, which I could have done, means that I could probably move both of them out next week if I want to without having to take a hit. So I'm fairly happy with that. Ings is starting this week, so I expect him to do nothing because he actually got me no points yet. He's scored when he's on my bench and done nothing when I've started him.
Okay. Well, I mean...
Bad news of John T.
Oh, yeah. No. Oh, what? You think Danny Ings is not going to play? No.
No, he thinks he's played, but when David plays him, he doesn't do anything. So it's cursed him.
No. Well, I played last time and he did okay, so it didn't stretch for me. He's playing Brighton though, so
I'm joking. I think he'll score.
But if we're going to go down the women's intuition route here, I think it's because he's playing against Brighton, he will score an absolute hatful. So I will have those terrible mixed feelings about playing him and then watching him trounce my team. Now you're hoping for a Liverpool victory today. Blimey, are you? So you've got Mane, Salah, and Robertson. That's a lot. Against
I'm aware
Spurs.
of that. I am taking a gamble on Liverpool,
and it's a 12:30 kickoff. So by the end of this first game, if they haven't done anything, if Spurs have done what they did to Manchester United, you've still got Aguero captain to go. But is that just switch off everything and just go down the park?
I've got to work all day, so I can't do that. I'm actually quite confident about Liverpool. I think they can win this game. I was reading a lot this week about what Spurs are like in terms of like control of the ball, and there's these quite encouraging stats for anyone who's still got Liverpool players that I think they rank second for basically goals conceded within a certain time of losing the ball. So effectively, they're counted on quite easily.
It's high-level stuff you're churning out here.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got it all to my head right now. It's still sort of stuff I've been reading. But basically, who's the best counter-attacking team in the league? Probably Liverpool, because I think Man City aren't really a counter-attacking team; they're a possession-based team. So, and also the other thing that there was a suggestion that Spurs are a little bit weak on their right-hand side. Trippier spends so much time high up the pitch, under instruction, of course, because his delivery's so good that it leaves a little bit open. Basically, they've conceded more assists from the left flank, or rather the right flank, down the left, and obviously that's where Robertson operates and he's top for chances created. So it's a bit of a risk, but it is based on some evidence that I can see Robertson getting an assist today, and if he does, then I was right to start him. As for Salah and Mane, it's a bit heavy-handed, but yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of that lineup there, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously one of the things I've got to hope for, I've gone Hazard over Mane, which was a decision I think I had to make because of Mane's ownership, and he's been getting people the point. So I've got to think that those holding Mane won't be getting rid for obvious reasons. But the fixtures aren't great for Liverpool coming up, so I've got to hope that there's a bit of a lull in output for Mane in particular. Alexander-Arnold, I mean, he's got hard fixtures, but I've only spent the 5 million on him, whereas others have spent 6 million plus on a Robertson or a Van Dijk. So I've got to hope that that's going to help me as well. But yeah, I do look at the fixtures and think Liverpool will not dry up, but I think with Champions League thrown in as well, there'll be a bit of a dip in the points overall in clean sheets and goals, I expect. So not enough where I'm going to sell Salah, but certainly enough to make me go Hazard over Mane.
And what do you reckon about Robertson as well? And this is for David as well. So myself and David have Robertson. Loads of people have Robertson. He seems great. It just seems there's no reason to dump him. But part of me on a wild card still thinking, if I can get him for down to a 4.5 defender, that frees up so much cash. Are you not worried about Robertson, because he is delivering really well each game?
I am. I mean, every I think Robertson is he's certainly the best Liverpool defensive asset there. I thought Van Dijk might threaten goals, and I think he will come in with some goals, and he might bridge the gap a little bit. But Alexander-Arnold, because of the price difference, I'm only paying 5 million. So Robertson is obviously a better player in fancy terms, but I'm paying less. And obviously the chances that Alexander might finally deliver some assists, and also he's on those direct free kicks, and he might knock one in now and again. So I think I'm happy with Alexander-Arnold. I know that obviously there's going to be a deficit to Robertson, but then also he's 1.2 million cheaper now, I think. So that gap for me is enough. I can do quite a bit with that, and I hope that Alexander-Arnold just keeps starting. I think that's the case at the moment.
I've got to admit, it is slightly tempting me. I think you put, that's an annoyingly good argument. And I was going to say, David, what do you think about Robertson? You're a Robertson owner. Is he getting a bit pricey for that level of fixtures that he's got coming up?
Yeah, the fixtures are tricky. I mean, to be honest, part of the reason why I wanted to do nothing this week was because I trust the team I've got to potentially do well, but I know that long term some changes probably need to be looked at. So yeah, having Salah and Mane is probably too much. And then as Mark's just alluded to there, Robertson spending that extra million on a player who's got a poor run of fixtures and could be rotated is possibly not quite as good as maybe downgrading to Alexander-Arnold, or if you're worried about fullback rotation, maybe Gomez.
Yeah, because we have that option, don't we, with Liverpool? Like with Mendy, he's going nowhere because there's no real option at Man City. And Alonso's just in a, there is David Luiz, but Alonso's in a different universe.
And don't forget, Emerson had a sore throat this week, so he might not play. So poor him.
Oh, that's true. So
yeah, I also look at Alexander-Arnold and Gomez and think you're getting 2 Liverpool defenders there for just over 10 million against Robertson and Wan-Bissaka for the same price. It's quite compelling argument that. I mean, obviously both Alexander-Arnold and Gomez are prone to rotation around Europe, and we'll have to see how that pans out. But at the moment, Gomez looks vital. I don't see Lovren getting back in.
Yeah, Lovren sort of his injuries not quite like Klopp's just not sure, is he? So
no.
And Gomez, he's played for England and just seems to be just completely the guy to play next to Van Dijk. Yeah.
So for just over 10 million, you could get 2 Liverpool defenders for the same price as Robertson and a 4 million. I don't know. I think that's compelling argument as well.
Because of Salah being 13 million. We have to adapt, I think, as managers. And we were already adapting to saying, right, you've got to spend a bit more in defence. But at the same time, we do have to adapt. And essentially what you're saying is get really good Liverpool coverage, but cost effectively. If you're going to splash out 13 million on Salah, you might as well, get 2 more players who can score well for quite a budget price tag. I think just looking at the team, David, those with Mane, Salah and Robertson, I think as the fixtures go on during September, they're going to start thinking one of these has got to go. But already some are going to Salah. So let's quickly have a look at my team there. So, there's Robertson. There he is, Bolly, in all his glory. He's been promoted. I guess there's 2 things going on with my team. I've made a change. I had some money in the bank. One of Mkhitaryan or Bernardo Silva had to go, really. It was just too many rotation. I think I called it the magic roundabout on the Scoutcast. It was just, I didn't know, I was all in a spin with them. So another thing I noticed, a lot of people wildcarding this week, one of the first names they have in their midfield is David Silva. And he's a player I've always liked as well. I mean, not just looks good, but he just delivers. He's got goals, he's got assists, he's got the works. He seems so vital with De Bruyne out as well. He's playing in that kind of very kind of forward role. He's linking up with Aguero. Everything's kind of going through him. I just really, really like the look of him. So I was having a look at my assist imminence table. So the smaller brother of the goals imminent table, and it's right at the top of that there. 13 chances created. So no assists yet. He is due assists, and I think the Fulham game is the one to get him. So that was my only move there, my free transfer. And the other move is Mkhitaryan could have gone, but I couldn't have got David Silva in for him because I would have had 4 City players. So Mkhitaryan's a player I want to get rid of. The 1 point cameos I cannot deal with. I can deal with someone not showing up, like Sterling last season. He didn't show up as my captain, and I got Kane's vice captain points. I'm more than happy with that. Don't mind that because I've got a bench to cope. But the 1 points, no. I've missed out on Bolly. I'm going to give Bolly a go, and I've looked at teams like yours, Mark. Lots of top managers. They've all got a Wolves defender somewhere there. Patricio in particular. So that's what I'm going for there. The rest is pretty standard, really. My man Pedro I got in last week for Richarlison is still there. Danny Ings. I don't know whether David's women's intuition will play out there, but hopefully there. And I've gone for Arnie. I've still got Arnie. People are having a pop at West Ham, but Arnautovic, West Ham are yesterday's team, but in FPL terms, obviously they're marvellous. But the Arnautovic being there against Everton, Everton's defence still look fragile, and they're all over the shop at the moment.
He always does well at Goodison Park as well.
Yeah, does he?
He always does well.
I
fancy him there. I do.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, long term, I don't particularly want Arnautovic. The fixtures they go from like to like, whoa, that's really awful. It's just absolutely horrendous. I mean, I had to shield my eyes when I first looked at it, and it was just so much red. It was a bloodbath. So I couldn't. I don't think long term, but I'm really happy to have him for this game. But I don't know if either of you have any thoughts about my team there.
I think, yeah. I mean, Arnautovic you're going to address, I'm sure. I just think you were right about Bernardo Silva, Pedro, and Mkhitaryan. The trouble with those is like none of them are certain starters, but you got to think Pedro will be all right because he scored last time out, and out of the international break, I think he will start this one. But long term, he's the same, isn't he? He's in that group of players where probably 60-70% chance of starting, and you can have one of those, but not 2 or 3. So I think I don't know if there's enough where I'd wild card, but then I've always said that, you know, unless you get in a situation like mine when I was really struggling, it is often difficult to find that tipping point where you go, that's enough, I've got a wild card. And you feel it's coming up, but I look at your team and think, well, not necessarily. But then I don't blame you for playing it, because I think that if you don't play it early, you're missing out on that benefit of getting it in early and then, you know, getting these players who are on the rise in terms of form and price. So I don't know whether I would play it right now, but mine's already done. I'm kind of glad I got mine out of the way, so I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I think with a wild card is, I think it's better to be used from a position of strength. I'm actually just under 200,000 in the rankings, so it's more a position of mediocrity when it comes to me. But I don't like to use a wild card because my team is awful. Because then you've got to react to various things. I like to use it. Nobody does. But I like to use it, and as I did last season, and a few seasons before that, well, I've looked at the team and I've looked at the fixtures, and I think, well, my team is not so good for those fixtures. I think there's better. I can upgrade a few of these, and there's some cheaper players emerging who are a bit better. So, for example, Ward at Cardiff, he's going to be striker for a while. You know, he's a great 4.5 option on the bench, and there's going to be loads of times if I get him in, I'm going to regret benching him, a bit like Bolly. And I just think there's things like that are starting to emerge now, and we're getting that bit more information. You know, it's clear that where the rotation is. Pedro long term, not sustainable. And I just think the kinds of things I was looking at really was something like Wilson and Mitrovic in alongside Aguero up top, keeping Salah, keeping David Silva as well, having Ward in instead of Stevens. Stevens is just a 2-point man. And then getting Maddison in and Richarlison because he's back. And then at the back, keep Robertson, Mendy, Alonso. Pereira I could splash out on. And then have Patricio as my Wolves defensive cover. Now Pereira at Leicester is a player I really like. And I know a lot of Sky managers who are overhauling this week have been looking at him because he's got a bit of everything. And I do like him. Wan-Bissaka obviously is great. So that's the kind of team I was looking at. And there was another team, a version of that, which was essentially Hazard in for David Silva, and looking at something like Fraser instead of Maddison and Ings instead of Wilson, which is another option. I put that out on Twitter this morning. I was getting favourable responses from both of those teams, but the arguments were really which one did they prefer, and it's Hazard really, I think. Yeah,
I think Hazard's going to do enough to convince you. I think. Yeah. And don't do what I did, Lo, and pick a team, settle on it, then sleep on it, and wake up and go, I'm going to change that now because just step away. Once you've built that masterpiece, step away, leave it alone, don't touch it. I really regret that. I think I would have been. I don't really want to calculate the exact number, but I think if I'd have gone with that Hazard lineup, I'd be about 30 or 40 points better off, and probably with more money in the bank as well.
Never do that.
It was a big mistake. So, yeah, my advice, you don't need advice. We've all been here and done this many, many times. But I urge you, once you settle, just lock it away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said, it's from a position of mediocrity. So what's the worst going to happen? I end up continuing to be average.
At least I had every incentive to play mine. It was quite an easy decision, I think, in the end. Yeah. I think it's in your situation, it is tough because you kind of go, oh, is it the right time? And you're right. Things like Ward is it's like last season when you see opportunities, you think, oh, I could just get on that early. I can just get on that fixture swing early. That can be just enough sometimes.
Yeah, Bennett is another example of that as well. So I don't have Bennett, but I could get Bennett. That suddenly frees up. If I bolly to Bennett, it just frees up that money, vital cash. And as you said, it all counts, doesn't it? But
it's all that little bit more efficiency, which kind of just is enough sometimes to play it.
But for now, I think we're called Breakfast Club, but it's heading towards lunchtime.
We're getting to brunch.
We're getting towards brunch. We've got games to cover, games to watch at. Myself, I'm decorating today, so I'll have the radio on. Lots of disappointment, no doubt. There, David's working today. Mark, how are you spending today?
I'll be out with the family, but keeping one eye on the scores as always. Hoping for a better weekend all round. I really need
Dad,
that.
Get off the phone.
A good game week. Yeah, exactly. There'll be lots of loo breaks, I expect, around 3.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks so much, David, Mark, for joining me. Good luck, everyone. Good luck to both of you.
See ya.
Yes. See you guys.